Hey listeners, Dan Harris here, host of the 10% Happier podcast. Imagine all your audio entertainment available in just one place. That's what the Audible app is all about. With Audible, you can always find the best of what you love or discover something new. Audible has an incredible selection of wellness titles and originals like The Light Podcast by Michelle Obama, Work It Out by Mel Robbins, and Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. Membership includes access to Audible Originals, podcasts, and tons of audiobooks that you can download or stream as much as you want. And as an Audible member, you can choose one title per month from an ever-growing catalog of titles to keep. The Audible app makes it easy to listen anytime, anywhere, whether you're traveling, working out, doing chores, wherever your day takes you. New members can try Audible now free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/Harris or text Harris to 500-500.
The weather is cooling down a bit. The leaves are starting to fall. Yes, it's that time of year again, football season. And we all know the best part of any game day traditions are the ones that involve food. There's nothing like having everyone in your game day crew coming together to bring their best bites and argue over whose family makes the best chili. And while there's no need to mess with the perfection of game day classics, like a freshly grilled Oscar Mayer hot dog topped with Heinz ketchup and mustard, it's always fun to step out of your comfort zone and get creative with your recipes. Because there's nothing more fun than adding to your list of game day traditions, like making a creamy and delectable queso dip with Velveeta cheese that can be eaten with so much more than just chips. Now is the chance for people across the nation to find out whose game day eats reign supreme. It's your turn to show off your tasty game day food traditions. Go to www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to share a photo of your game day food tradition to enter to win $10,000. Once again, that's www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to enter to win $10,000.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
Okay, Tom, we got a very incredible show today. We have someone to tell an amazing story. And shockingly, it's somebody who didn't get rid of you as a player. So maybe should have.
Wait, that's what.
Today we have on former Kings owner Bruce McNall.
Oh, one of my favorite people on the planet. Bruce, great to see you again.
Nice to see you, Tom.
I really do mean it. You know, I know we spoke after you got out of prison. We'll tell that whole story, but you were fantastic, not just to me, but all the players. You really wanted to play for you, and I don't. Nobody was happy with what happened to you after, but we'll discuss all that. So great to see you again.
Nice to see you as well.
So I got traded to the Kings in 1986-87 from the Rangers, and Bruce, you owned what 25% of the team at that time, right?
At that time, yes, I was a minority owner. Jerry Buss, believe it or not, even though he owned the Lakers, always needed cash. So I used to funnel him small amounts, 10,000, 15, 20,000 in a pool paper sack or something and give it to him. And so in 1979-80, I bought a minority interest in the Mavericks. So I knew him from that, Dallas Maverick. And then one day he comes to me and he says, hey, that money I owe you, which was at that time about $2 million. He said, I know you want to buy the Kings. You're a big fan. I said, yes. Said, how about we transfer that into the minority interest? By $4 million, we'll buy you 25%. So the basis is $16 million. Not the $1 billion that the teams are worth today.
Wow. Right.
So I said, okay, great. So I gave him the $2 million and ended up with the team I had to sell the Mavericks because the fact that he owned the Lakers was a little bit of a conflict. So anyway, I did that. And
So for people listening, the key to owning an NHL franchise is to give somebody bags of money on a regular basis.
That helps, especially if you don't ask what it's for.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit then. Where were you born and raised?
Culver City area of California, but I ended up moving to Arcadia, California, which is where the Santa Anita racetrack is, which is why I got involved with horse racing later on, because I knew some of the kids and people in that area. So that's where I was born and raised, and ended up going to high school for a very brief period of time because I went to UCLA, a special program that had to take classes at the college at that same time. So I went to UCLA, graduated there when I was quite young, and then went on to the doctoral program in ancient history, believe it or not. Just my real love, where I made all the money to buy the team, came from coins, ancient Roman coins and artifacts. And so that's how it started. And
so you're this super whiz kid that didn't stay in high school very long, went right to college when you were like 17 years old, or?
Yeah, 18. But
Is that
yeah,
right?
I graduated by the time I was 20 or so. But I had a company going and my little business going, and it was going pretty well. And so my dream of being a college professor went by the wayside when I was making as much a week in selling my artifacts and coins as they would pay in a year. So I said, maybe I should do this.
Yeah, good call.
All right. So now things are going well in that business. Did you always dream of owning an NHL hockey team?
Not realistically until maybe, the very early 80s, because when I knew Jerry Buss, I started bugging him all the time. Hey, you want to sell the Kings? No. And I said, and so the dream came true in 85, really, or 86, by buying minority interests. That was great.
Well, that's interesting, Bruce, because people that you grew up a Kings fan in the 70s, because people only think of the Kings as Gretzky and being this successful franchise, but the Kings were in bad shape for a long time.
Well, the nice thing about going to a Kings game when I was going was that you could buy the seats from a scalper for like $3 and sit on the ice seats,
Yeah.
Nobody was there. It was great. So I really got to, love the game, and all the guys at that time, that were playing, from Marcel Dion, as you know, and a guy named Tom Laidlaw, with the big star. I mean, was Tom, and then you had a few other guys getting around, Bernie Nichols, a few other guys.
I remember I got traded there. That was a great group of guys. Larry Playfair was there, Steve Duchesne, Luke Robitaille.
So when you get traded from icon Marcel Dion, when do you first meet the owner? When does that happen?
I don't think I met Bruce right away. It wasn't until I think when you took over like the majority ownership of the team, then you were around the team all the time.
Right.
And Bruce was a fantastic owner. We'll tell some more stories. Well, okay, we'll tell the one, because Tom kind of questioned this. Remember when you used to fly some of us back in a private jet? Like if we were playing on the road and then we were playing home the next night, some of us would fly back on the jet.
Yeah.
Did that ruffle I can't remember. Did it ruffle anybody else's feathers that was not on the flight?
No, because I would ask, or I would check with the, at that time, Dave Taylor, or whatever the captain was. Hey, what guys need the rest? At that time, I had a smaller jet. I had a Jetstar, which said about 6 people or so, and so didn't have the big jet at the time. So I could only take a handful of players, and he would always take the guys that were most beat up or needed the rest.
Right. He'd say, take this old goat, take him on the jet right there.
Put Tim and Tom on there, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, they'll stay around all night. They'll be drinking beer all night on the road.
Exactly.
So, Bruce, you said you took over in 87 as a majority owner, right? Or 100% owner of the Kings?
Yeah.
So let's can we talk about obviously the biggest deal in hockey history and how that happened and what your role was in that?
Yeah, sure.
And I'm not talking about when you traded Dion for Laidlaw.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not that big trade.
The second biggest trade.
The other one.
What's the other one? I don't remember. Oh, that's right. Actually, even before that, I'm not sure, Tom, you were there or not, but anyway, at the time when I got the team, 100% of it, we had 3 of the youngest stars in the game. Luke Robitaille, Jimmy Carson, and Steve Duchesne. Yep. So I decided, why don't I have a party honoring them, especially because Luke won the Calder Trophy that year as the Rookie of the Year. So I said, okay, let's do that. And so I had it at Spago, which is at that time the only celebrity restaurant in the city. So I invited all these celebrities and so on. So as we're pulling up, the paparazzi are all over the place, photos of Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, every star in Hollywood showing up there to meet the players. Out comes Luke Robitaille, the 2 of the guys. They ignored him. They didn't know who they were. They said, well, who are you? Well, we're being honored, I think. Oh, go ahead, bye. But nobody cared. It was so funny at the time. And then that's the story that Luke loves to tell about how he was ignored at that time. So anyway, after I bought the team, I thought to myself, it's a great game. Nobody shows up. What do I do to help that out? Well, Jerry Buss had mentioned to me early on that he had tried to talk to Peter Pocklington, the owner of the Edmonton Oilers, about getting Wayne Gretzky. And I said, kind of got in my head. So when I first owned the team, I started going to the various board meetings. Even when I owned half the team, Jerry Buss was great. He said, you run that show. I'll take care of the Lakers. You run that show. So he would send into the Board of Governors meetings. So I would see Peter Pocklington. I always say, hey, Peter, how about Gretzky? Can I get him? He'd laugh. Yeah, right. Bye-bye. And then I kept bugging him. And one day, I remember he said to me, I said, well, what kind of a trade would you want? Well, he said, let's start with this. I could take your whole team, and you still couldn't have him. Well, you could have the whole team. How's that?
Except Laidlaw.
Why? You can't trade the big ones, the great ones.
Yeah, that's right.
So I said, all right. One day, out of the blue, he calls me. He said, are you still serious about Gretzky? And I said, yes.
Well, hold on. I got to ask you now. When he says that to you, what's going on in your head?
I said, okay. He said, well, first of all, I want $15 million cash, U.S. That's number one.
Wow.
Number two is I want some draft picks and I want some other players. I said, okay, done. Where do I send the money? And he said, okay. So he gave me information. So I said, okay. Then it went on to a negotiation. It was really as much of anything with the general manager at that time of Edmonton, who you probably remember quite well.
Yep.
He also became the GM, and now I think with the Rangers now, I think.
President
President now, yeah.
President of the team.
Yeah.
Glenn Sather.
Yeah, Glenn Sather. So Glenn called me. He says, let me tell you, that crazy fucking owner, I'm not doing anything with this. It ain't happening. Bye-bye.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Bruce, who was your GM at the time?
Yeah.
And you're just making this deal. This is an owner deal.
So Rogie, Glenn was going to be negotiating with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I called Peter and I said, well, I guess there's no deal. I mean, Glenn says, he doesn't own the team. I said, okay. So back and forth. Then Glenn got back to me and he said, okay, look, he wants to do this trade. This is the worst thing in the history of the world for us. But okay, fine. He said, I want Luc Robitaille. I want, in addition to that, he said, I want some other players, that I'll come up with. I want 3 first-round draft picks. And I said, okay, all right, except Luke. I said, I can't trade Luke.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. And he said, well, there's no deal then. So it took months. We went back and forth and finally.
And actually, Bruce, when did this whole thing start? Was because the trade happened in the summer of '88. Was this going on through the whole season?
Yeah. It was going on really seriously. I think it began in June, actually. So not the whole season. It was actually just when the season ended. It really began.
And does Wayne know this is going on at the time?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Nobody knew except me and Peter Pocking and Glenn Sather. Only 3 people knew.
Oh, really?
Not Rogie, not anybody knew. Finally, I said, look, first of all, I need to talk to Wayne because he doesn't want to trade. So I said, look, I got to talk to Wayne. No, can't talk to Wayne. You know me enough to know that I don't listen a lot to regulations.
Yes, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, I knew Wayne a little bit because when I first got the team, I would sit down near the ice. He'd come over and slap me with a stick. And I always, hey, I'm going to get you one day. And he'd go, oh. So anyway, he calls me and he said, hey, can you give me couple of tickets to the Celtic Lakers championship game? I said, yeah, sure, Wayne. This was back in May or June, something like that. So I did. And he brought Janet, his future wife, and I sat with him. And I started bugging him about, hey, you want to come to LA? This is great. And so once again, the old no.
Oh, so Wayne said no at that time.
Yeah, he didn't want any part of it.
Oh.
And then I said, okay, what am I going to do? So Wayne said, they'll never trade me anyway. I don't want to leave. This is a championship team. I love my guys. I'm not going to move. Okay, Wayne. So I go back to Pocklington after that in June. I tell him that. He says, well, he hasn't got the choice. Not his choice. Wow. So just deal with me. I said, okay. So again, back and forth. So finally, we settled on Jimmy Carson and the 3 draft picks. I got in exchange Mike Krushelnyski and another pick from them, and then which later became Martin Jonah.
And Martin McSorley too, right?
And Martin McSorley. Well, yep. Wayne assisted on that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I thought that's the way they went down, yeah.
Finally, what happened was, I said to Wayne, it's going to happen, man. And he said, no. So he's in my office. Wayne would come into my office quite a bit. We'd just chat around. So he came to my office, and Peter Pocket happened to call. So I put him on.
He's still on the Oilers at this point?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of rare for another player to come into the owner's office of the other team, right? Yeah. I guess Wayne, though. It's Wayne.
So, but again, that's probably tampering, but okay. Who cares?
Yeah, but right. That's like, hey, your wife's over. She wants to talk to you. So weird.
So Peter got on the phone, and I started talking to him, and I said, so Peter, I can do. I'm told Slater I can do Jimmy Carson, or I can do Robitaille, or something like that. And I said, so you really want to do this deal, right, Peter? I was hoping he would say yes. He says, yeah, it's about time I got rid of that whiny kid up there.
No. Was that speakerphone?
Yeah.
Oh, that sealed the deal right there.
So I said, okay, all right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. So Wayne says, I'm a king. What's next?
Oh, I did not know that part. That's amazing.
Wow. Yeah. So I said, okay. And then Wayne got involved. He became the guy, my GM, telling me, well, I need Marty, Mike Kruszinski to be helpful as a second line center for me, and you cannot give up three first-round draft picks in a row. So stagger them every other year.
Oh, wow. So, he didn't try to get Yari Curry in the deal?
No. He knew there's a range of possibilities that some are not. Yari was not. So okay, done. So we ended up, and I said to Wayne, hey, I think we do this. My other emotional problem was Jimmy Carson, because he was a friend, and he was my best center.
Also a great player at the time, too.
55 goals as an 18-year-old American-born kid. So I felt bad. So I went to Jimmy, and I said, Jimmy, you're going to get traded to Edmonton for Gretzky. So the good news is you'll be a household name for a lot of years. Yeah. The other good news is if you were here on the team, you're now my first-line center. You're certainly going to be behind Gretzky. So you're not going to get the ice time. You're not going to get the goals or anything else being a second-line center. So it'll be good for you. He kind of bought into it, sort of.
Yeah.
So I felt like at least I told him what my, was. And he couldn't argue that, getting Gretzky was amazing. So we ended up doing that deal. And all the time I was nervous as hell that this was going to fall apart somehow.
Right.
Because of the media. Terrified the media when they get a hold of it. When they get a hold of something, so I hadn't told anybody. So I go to Rogie and I tell him I'm going to get Gretzky. He said, well, why don't you just lie down here for a while and I'll call up.
And anybody that knows Rogie was this really calm, quiet guy too, right?
Yeah.
And total gentleman, great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good golfer. That was what he did.
Yeah.
So, and he knew that he wasn't a party to any of this, which is unusual for a general manager not to be a part. So when he finally believed me, we went to tell the scouts, because in the draft we had the problem potentially of what are we going to give up, who we're going to get, how is this going to work. And again, all the scouts were laughing, like, yeah, right, okay, sure, yeah, sure. I told them then at the time what was going on. This is early before August. I let them know, and so that finally we ended up doing the trade, as you know, and went from there.
I remember being back in New York, and I was watching. Back then, there wasn't all these sports stations, and it was just ESPN basically. So I'm watching ESPN in the morning, and they're saying there's a chance Gretzky's going to get traded, and I'm like a lot of people, that's not going to happen, right? Because that stuff didn't happen. Then the day goes on. Now I think I'm having a cocktail too, because I'm thinking, yeah, this is, and then it starts looking like it's going to happen, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be playing with Wayne Gretzky for God. It was incredible. At the end of the day, I was like I really felt like a different person, a different player. That Wayne was going to be on the team all of a sudden. So it was pretty. We're looking at you like, how the heck did he do that? Because I remember we still are like this today. If somebody says something's going to happen, and it seems like it's just no way it's not going to happen. We go, Gretzky got traded. So if Gretzky can get traded, anybody can happen to anybody. So.
And then on top of that, Bruce tripled his salary right off the bat, too, which was very nice for you guys.
Well, it was kind of a funny situation because he only had 2 years left of his contract. And I paid $15 million all these players. So I said, wait, we have to redo your contract. Oh, sir. I said, well, what do you think you're going? And he said, I don't know. Come up with something. So I said to myself, well, how about if I pay you $3 million a year, which is the highest any athlete. Magic was getting $3 million a year. So I said, okay. And Wayne says to me, no, that's crazy. That's way too much. He said, I'll tell you what, pay me $2 million a year and said $500,000 back for some free agents and $500,000 for playoff bonuses and so forth for the players. He said, I can't do it all myself. I need some players to fucking score goals here. So he said, okay. So I said, well, okay, so one thing I'll change to that. And I talked to Walter, his father. I said, Walter, I'll always make Wayne the highest paid player in the league forever. That's the one thing, the only change I'll make. I didn't really think Wayne knew that at the time or wasn't that aware of it, but we put that in the contract, and that's how it played out. And subsequent years went on. My buddy Howard Baldwin, who owned the Pittsburgh Penguins, kept jacking up the price of Mary Lemieux. Every year was now it was 7, 8, 9. It's like going up. So it is what it is, and so we did that all those years.
Wow, no, that's awesome that you did that.
And at that time, we did not have salary disclosure, I think, until 1992. They didn't have it. Now, Bob Goodnow came in to run the Players Association, and he now pushed the salary disclosure through. So that was a big thing, holding back salaries, because not everybody knew. Now, some of the top guys knew, and obviously you knew what other players were making. But that was really holding the salaries back for a lot of people. But
Also, at that time, Wayne was making $975,000 a year when I got him.
Wow. How much was Dave Taylor making?
He was making about 250 or 300, something like that.
Okay. I heard the stories that he was higher than Wayne when Wayne was still in Edmonton. Not true?
I don't think so. I mean, Dave was making a pretty good amount. I don't think it was that much, though.
Okay.
But that also speaks to Wayne's character, too, that he wanted to hold back $1 million to improve the team and to give it to the boys.
Well, that was Wayne. That's the one thing that really impressed me about him. Obviously, his skill level, there's no question, on the ice. But he was so aware of himself and the game, the team, how he could change the game, how he affected his teammates, all that stuff. He was just way beyond. I think he felt as a young boy that he was going to be in that position, so he trained himself to be like that. That's really impressed me a lot.
He was always that way. When we would go on the road, as you know, he would be the first guy to tell me, buy them all dinner. Let's do this, into drinks. I remember one time, I finally, Wayne, who did not like to fly at all, when we have to go to like Winnipeg or someplace like that, where there's no commercial flights to go there without 2 stops. So I finally decided I'll just buy a jet. So we were actually the first team, any sport, to have a jet. No,
I didn't know that. Wow.
Their own jet. Many of them took private jets through various mechanisms, but nobody owned their own plane. So I bought for the president of Mexico's plane. Got nailed drug fence, so I got a cheat flyers. We made it as nice as I could. And then Wayne said, okay, and he would sit up with the pilots in the beginning to see how this is actually working, because it'll actually fly. Oh, right. And then I didn't have to worry about which player to take with me.
Layla always put his hand up for that.
Yeah, always.
One of the biggest things that I remember too, there's so many things, but so normally you're in a locker room all your life, growing up as a kid, the coaches are in there. As you get to the NHL, there's more media members in the locker room. Well, when Bruce took the team over, it turned into like we were at the Emmys or Oscar Awards or something. All the movie stars are in there.
The fans wanted to see it. The celebrities wanted to be there. I wanted to make it in thing to do, the most hip thing to do. So I'd bring, as you know, Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, President Reagan would come several times, Stallone, the whole bit. In fact, Saturday night, I did a skit on me dragging the players into the locker room, and somebody played Stallone, somebody played me. You hunt down a Saturday night clip on the. Okay, it's kind of funny because when Wayne hosted Saturday Night.
Remember Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell would come in too. They're big hockey fans.
John Candy would always come.
Yep. Michael J. Fox was there.
But many of them were there before Gretzky, so I was always there. And
but Bruce, before you got Wayne, you remember? I mean, obviously, it wasn't what it was. Is it as big as you imagined it would be? I mean, you switched to silver and black, and then all of a sudden, it becomes the place to be in Hollywood. Like, did you imagine that? I mean, obviously, you wanted that, but was it beyond your wildest dream?
I don't think I really dreamed that it was going to be as big as it became. I thought it would be good in LA, and I thought it would improve our team to maybe win something. And add people to seats. That I thought. In terms of the explosion that happened, I had no idea. It's truly not the explosion that happened in expansion and the kind of things that took place as a result. Because, as you remember, I started making certain that we had a little road show every time we had a break in between seasons when we had various promotional games. So, and I would take them to like Tampa Bay, Dallas, Phoenix. All these places that now have NHL teams.
Yeah. Well, you guys played the Rangers in the parking lot in Vegas.
And the Rangers in the parking lot in Vegas, I paid the Rangers $25,000. But it was kind of funny because there you go. I mean, Vegas has a team now partly because of that, because everybody was laughing. Right. And the ice at the time wasn't really ice, it was mush by that time. And there were crickets all over the place. And Wade would come to me and said, how are we going to do this? So we kept getting the best ice guys up there. It was at Caesar's Palace outdoors where they had the boxing. We got about 12,000 people in that place and sold out. And the tickets were so highly priced that it set a record for any NHL game in history, just box office in the history of the NHL. fast forwarding later on, the league could see that Vegas was a viable place to actually have a hockey team, that it worked.
Now, was the team profitable at that point, Bruce?
I made a mistake. I couldn't do much about it. Jerry Buss owned the Forum, and there's only so much he could do because he'd already pre-sold so many things, and the television rights and the radio rights and all this sort of stuff. So if I had forced the issue, if I said, look, I can't do this unless I get this or this or this, I wasn't sure the deal would ever go through. I wasn't certain. But anyway, as a result of that, I wasn't getting a tremendous amount, like all the parking. I know all that, so as a result, I made the Forum Club the hottest place to go. I would get thousands of people requests and this and that, but I didn't own it. So Jerry jacked up the price to get in, except for the hot girls. He always loved it. Yeah. But, and the players didn't mind that, by the way.
No kidding.
Do me a favor, come to the Forum Club after the game.
Oh, no.
Nobody wants to see you. Nobody wants to talk to you. You don't want to talk to anybody. So, but if you win, come to the Forum. Well, they love that. That even Gretzky would come sometimes. So it's kind of.
Oh, that was quite a scene. That was unbelievable. Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, Tom always says how you were such a great players owner. He even says you would just hand him like $1,000 cash and say, "Go get some beers for the boys."
Yeah.
Which is just what what owners do that.
My feeling has always been, that if you take care of your people, that they'll go through a brick wall for you. A funny side story, but we're in Vancouver and we're going to play the game the next night, and Gretzky and I, and then Kelly really wanted to come along. Gretzky wanted to go shopping in Versace there, and Kelly's looking around and he sees this jacket, this leather jacket, and he says, "Oh my God, this is so cool." And I said, "Okay," and so as we're leaving, Wayne got a couple of things. I go, "What?" And then I said to the owners of the Versace, I said, "I want that jacket." And he said, "Okay, it's $25,000. I said, "Okay, no big deal." And so I buy the jacket. He doesn't know what it costs. And I get him the jacket. He is so thrilled to death. That night, he had like 60 shots on goal, and we won 7-0. Believe me, he was going to stop everything no matter what it took.
Well, that's the thing, Bruce. Like as an athlete, you play to win. You want to win. But when you were the owner, like if we had a bad game or they got hurt and could have played and didn't or whatever it was, when you walk in the locker room after, we see Bruce McNall standing there, all the things he's done for us, you feel like a jerk. Like, why, this guy's doing everything for us and we didn't play well enough. And so that was it. I mean, we loved it. It was
like he said, you went through a wall for him.
Yeah.
Well, and you told me, Tom said when he was renegotiating his contract with Rogie Vachon, the GM, he said, Rogie's like, "Get out of here. You're crazy." And Tom said, "I'll just go talk to Bruce."
I felt bad doing that. And I look back.
It worked, didn't it?
No, I know it did. That's especially when I was in the agent business after, and I realized, oh man, that poor general manager. Because Rogie was a fantastic guy. I'll never forget. We had training camp at Hull one year, and Wayne was on the team. So at training camp, first day, you have your meeting in the morning, physicals in the morning, then you hang out for a while, then you come back for a meeting. Rogie's going to run the meeting. So we're with Wayne. We all decided to go to a strip joint in the afternoon, and we go into the private room. We put the girls' panties over the camera and the whole bit. We're doing whatever we want to do, and we're getting hammered. And the guys are all together. The whole team's there. Larry Robinson, Dave Taylor, everybody's having a blast. And we all looked at each other knowing that we should not be doing this because we got to go back to the meeting. But we looked at Wayne and go, "Well, Wayne's here, so we're going to do it." And we came back for the meeting after, and we're a bunch of little kids giggling and everything. And poor Rogie's trying to have this serious meeting, like, starting the season off. But the thing about it was with Wayne, it was everybody was together. So even though we shouldn't be doing it, we're all together. So it's kind of like, sorry, Rogie, but the guys are all having some fun. So
can't fetch us all, right?
Yeah.
And that was what Wayne would do. I mean, I don't know if you remember this or not, but when we had these road trips from Vancouver to Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, so with that Western thing, one day Wayne says, I had the guys at that dinner before that at some place. At the only steakhouse in Western Canada that anybody ever heard of. So Wayne went to dinner with them before, like in Vancouver, and I got them bottles of Opus One, which is about $400 a bottle at that time.
Wow.
The guy loved it. So I said, I called my wine guy and I said, "I'll ship cases of Opus One to each of these places, this restaurant chain that they'll go to." So every time we went there, the guys were drinking several $1,000s of the wine. I don't think we lost a game on that road. They may be drunk, but they were happy.
Oh, I'll tell you, that's the thing about Wayne too. And I mean, he could drink his booze too and perform like that next day, come out for practice games, whatever. Oh, he loved having a cocktail.
We've had a lot of Kings on the team from that era, and we always say how you guys were like rock stars, but you guys really were living like rock stars too, not just on the ice. You were like living the rock star life.
I remember the one All-Star game we had in New York, and that All-Star game, Barry Melrose was the coach, of course, because we had got to the finals in '93. So we go to the All-Star game. Well, Wade says, let's bring the whatever guys are. A lot of the players lived in LA or visited LA after the season was over. So on my plane was, in addition to some Gretzky and Robitaille, Marty had to go anywhere Wayne went. And a couple other my players went. And then Brett Hull came, Fedorov came, all kind of guys, not all from my team would come. So I flew them all to New York. We got there. As you know, the first day on a Saturday, I think it was, they have the skills competition. So after that, the guys said, hey, let's go out. Let's go to a club. Wayne said, okay, we can go to this club. It's a huge place. I said, okay. So we take all the players to this club. Wayne and I left after an hour or so, just like the crazy noise and crazy crack going on. The next morning, 10 o'clock, Barry Melrose calls me. Where are the players? I said, oh my God, they must have been over. So I get a hold of Wayne. I said, Wayne, where are the players? Well, they probably sleeping in office. I'll get them up. Nope, couldn't find them. So what do we do? Wayne and I drive over to that club, and there is Brett Hull sleeping next to a black vest eye, Fedorov in a fish tank. Hey, guys, the game starts at noon in 2 hours. Melrose is, you got to get out. Okay. So they come out, they're hammered, they don't know where they are. Finally, you're in the thing, and Melrose sees what's going on. He says they're wiped out. He's okay, Wayne. Okay, you got Hull on your right and Fedorov here. Well, if you remember that game, it starts out, I think we're down 5 or 6 nothing in the first period. Wayne would throw them a pass, and they'd shoot it, to the other net. So, it teaches you a lesson of as much fun as it was, And then also later on, or before that, I would take them to all these players in Vegas, including, again, players that didn't play for me. And Wayne would say, get them a line of credit.
Wow.
They have no credit. So I said, it'll have to be on me. Okay. So I remember getting a bunch of guys. I mean, I don't remember who all was there. All the All-Stars that year. We're in Vegas and then later on in Atlantic City. And I got them like $50,000 each to play, which was a fair amount of money in those days,
Yeah.
So they're playing, some won, some lost, whatever was going on, right? And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we got to pay that back. To this day, there's a couple of players that never paid it back that I had.
Oh, is that right?
I don't remember them all, but some never paid. But they loved it. I would say to Wayne, what's your theory? He said, well, why do you think they want to just come to LA because of me? Yes, and somewhat, yes. But guess what? They love LA. They love what you do for the players, and that gets around the league.
Oh, sure. Yeah, remember you? I think you did this every year. You sent us to Hawaii at the end of the year too. Ourselves and our families all had a few trips to Hawaii. Yeah, wow. I was just like, this was like this. Yeah, you did not want to leave LA. Like you wanted before LA was kind of known as, well, can hockey really make it there or not?
Sure.
Once Bruce and Wayne took over there, it was like that was the place you wanted to be. You wanted to stay in LA. The weather, the way you treated us.
Yeah, and you were rock stars. And LA was so cool in the 90s too,
Yeah. So really, one more quick story. I want to get into this stuff after the game. So Robbie Ftorek. Robbie's a great guy, Pete McNall. I played with Robbie, great guy and everything, but Wayne and Robbie just were two different people entirely. I think they both respected each other. So I've told this story many times. Robbie decides he's going to bench Wayne in Detroit. You were not on the road, I don't think, at that time, right?
Unfortunately, I was. I went to virtually every road game.
Yes. Yeah.
And I do remember that was a really screwed up situation because I didn't notice. I'm in the press box, I think it was. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Bob Miller or somebody came to me and said, you notice that Wayne's not on the ice? I said, oh, really? What happened? What's going on? He said, I don't know. I said, well, I'll speak to Wayne afterwards. Well, it turns out because Wayne got upset, he didn't score an easy goal or something. He already had like 5 points. Anyway, slammed a stick across the net.
Yeah.
Robbie decided that was inappropriate and benched him.
We're sitting in the locker room. As you know, we had a bunch of old guys, Dave Taylor, Clay Robinson, right. John Tonelli, myself, Tim Waters. So when we hear that this rumor is going to happen, we're in the locker room between second and third period. We're giggling like little kids. You can't do that, Robbie. You just can't do it.
Wayne, I went to Wayne. I said, Wayne, what happened? He wouldn't talk to me. But finally, I got a hold of him. I said, Wayne. He said, get rid of him. What happened? Well, this is what he did. I said, oh boy, okay. And I knew before that they didn't get along in style because Robbie wanted everything to be equal. You know, he was an idea that every player is equal. Well, guess what? Not every player is equal. You know, like it or not, the realities of sports is you don't treat some third line quarterback the same way you treat Tom Brady. It doesn't work like that. Robbie wouldn't. So I knew there was always a problem. When that happened, as you know, I went to Rogie and I said, Rogie, unfortunately, I think we have to do something here. And Robbie was fired because of that.
Oh, was that what? So not that right at that time that he benched? Yeah. Was it later on? Was it right then that he got fired?
Within a couple of days.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, I thought it was later on in the year, like in the summer or whatever. Wow, okay. Yeah, and for a guy like me, I loved Robbie. He was fantastic. But for Wayne, it's a whole different. Yeah. I don't think you may not have heard the story, but Wayne, I always had like those 3 or 4 minute shifts. But when Wayne did it, he did it because he thought he was helping the team win. He had something on the go, and we had a game in the Forum, and we were playing terrible. And Wayne had the 3 or 4 minute shift at the end of a period. We come into the locker room, and again, veteran team, so the coach really doesn't have to say anything. We are all like, "Come on, guys, we got to change this, we got to change that." And Jay Miller, remember Jay Miller, great guy too. He stands up, he says, "Well, if we stopped having those 3 or 4 minute shifts, it might help." Obviously, pointing the finger at Wayne.
Oh, yeah.
Wayne rarely lost his temper, but he threw his gloves and stick in front of Jay. He says, "If you can do better, then you go ahead. Here's my gloves." And the whole room went dead silent. Like, Jay, you idiot. And Wayne was smart enough, like he was pissed for a second, and then he regrouped himself and went over and grabbed the stuff. He's like, "Come on, let's go." And started laughing about it, but it was that was pretty cool.
And we love the fighters like Jay Miller, number 29, by the way. Bostonian. And to this day, I would spoke to him maybe a month ago or so.
You know who I'm glad's really doing well now too is Luke Robitaille. Like he's not just a figurehead there as a president. He really knows his stuff.
Well, Luke for me was great because, as you know, when I went to prison, he would come virtually at least twice a month and bring the family, see me all the time. Wayne would come all the time as well. In fact, the last time I was leaving prison was in a place called Milan, Michigan, which is about 30 miles south of Detroit. I didn't even know this was happening. The next thing I know, there's Rob Blake, and they were playing the Avalanche, I guess, or something was going on, or he was with, and Luke was with Detroit at that time. So he and Rob Blake come down there. And now this particular prison was a kind of rough place. It was not like California when I first went to. This was the one that I was punished for having people like Wayne sign sticks and so forth for the cards and God knows what, thinking that I was going to get special treatment, which of course I did. But but they would always come, and it was crazy. And I remember Rob Blake saying, "Oh my God," looking around, he said, "Well, what did this guy do?" I don't know. You don't want to know. What did he do? I don't want to know. Oh, they were scared. They said, to this day, Rob or Lucas say we were so scared to death. It was unbelievable.
So Bruce, then, so you've owned the team in the '93. You go to the finals, almost win. I owned the team for a few more years. When did it all start to crumble apart there with all the charges?
Well, what happened was over the last few years, as the other businesses were falling apart, partly because I'm focused on the Kings for the most part, and they're not paying that much attention, and my people were, not really holding the shot down, so to speak, and but the banks kept keeping us afloat. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll cover it. We'll cover it. Okay, so eventually came to the point where the financial statements that my people were issuing were false. Did I know it? I kind of knew it. I wasn't paying that much attention to it all. I thought it'd be all worked out. Everything to me was I would always fix it at the end of the day. Always get fixed. All of a sudden, in '94, I think April, I get a subpoena to produce documents and so forth. And then the FBI goes and talks to all my employees. They didn't come to me. They went to everybody else. And so, okay. And finally, I sat down with him and I said, well, this is what happened. The bank said it was okay. In fact, we should do it. In fact, the bankers helped do this and do this. And okay, but I'm still guilty because even though they may have promoted it and they're the victims, so to speak, I still did it.
So the banks were part of the false documents that were filed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's why kind of funny. Yeah. So the FBI people and the prosecutors put a an FBI agent who was a forensic accountant named, on my case. So we told him everything. My people told him everything was going on. He didn't believe a thing. Then about a year later, he comes back and says, "Oh my God, the banks were guilty of all this stuff." And so at my sentencing at the time, and I had pled guilty to do 11 years. And at my sentencing, no victims show up, and the victims were all banks. They're basically co-conspirators, if you will.
Right.
Nobody showed up. The only person that showed up was this FBI agent who says to the judge, "Your Honor, I've gone through everything, and I'll tell you this, the banks, the victims here were actually very much a part of the whole program here." Wow. And I think that, if anything, that he was a victim of that. So the prosecutor was going crazy. How, Bruce must have paid us FBI agent off. Oh, but nuts. And bottom line is, the judge said, "Look, I'm going to reduce your sentence to as low as I can by law, which is I'll cut half of it off." So you ended up doing 70 months. So 5.5 years. And I said, okay, that's what happened.
Wow. Cool. So what were you thinking at that time? I mean, you build your business up, you get all this money, you buy the king, you get Wayne Gretzky in, you're the toast of the town, and all of a sudden this happens. Is it like almost unbelievable what's going on?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And yet at the time, by this time I had gone through, a year or more of a lot of pressures. Through the playoffs in 93, all that time, as great as it was, I would also, the economic pressures coming down more and more and more. It was getting kind of crazy. So I ended up, in a way, I felt it was almost, I was almost a relief, the best way to put it.
Oh, really?
Because all of a sudden I went from being responsible for everybody, players, staff, family, all this, to responsible for nobody but myself.
Right.
And in a way, it was sort of relief, as strange as it may sound.
No, I never thought about it that way. Yeah, because you took care of everybody. You took care of me. You took care of my family. You took care of every player and the family with them too. Yeah, you did take on a lot. Well,
so as a result of it all, when all of a sudden that's not happening anymore, I felt a little bit of relief, honestly. So it was kind of strange, and actually afterwards as well, it was incredible to me that everybody in my life remained there and loyal, and so I have, I remember Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell flew in one day to Lompoc, and Kurt flew himself, little plane, flew down there to see me, and he flew on a Friday, and you can only have visitors on weekends. But the guards, oh my God, Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn. So they take him, they give him a whole tour of the place. I don't know that they're there. I have no idea that they're there. So they're touring around, they're looking around, and they take him to lunch and the whole thing. It was crazy. So afterwards, I get called into the warden's office and said, "Your friends Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn showed up on a Friday, and we think you'd have to do with an escape attempt." And so they thought it was that somehow or the other he had. So
that Kurt Russell was going to break you out of prison?
Yeah. So it was kind of silly, but okay. But actually, the thing was, after the fact, that all these people remained so loyal, would always come to see me in prison. And then after, when I got out, and the fact that Gretzky wouldn't allow his number to be retired until I was out and was there to be with him, those kind of things meant a lot. And you learn a lot, because when you're on top of the game, the top of the world, everybody's kissing your ass, right? Everybody loves you, everybody needs you. When you're not, it's kind of interesting to see who stays by you.
I remember I called you when you got out of prison. I could tell by your voice that it meant a lot to you, that people were sticking with you, right? Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, you did. And every year I would get a email or card from you for Christmas.
Well, it's funny, because I thought to myself, okay, this guy went to jail. He's a criminal, right? He's terrible guy. And I thought, well, no, he's not. Again, you admitted what you did when we talked on the phone. You didn't try to blame anybody else. So you said, okay, this is what happened. So how did it all work out with your family?
It's worked out, well. I mean, my wife had divorced me before the prison stuff.
Oh, Tom knows all about that.
That was the best news I ever had. So, so afterwards, my kids, when I went in, were like 8 and 10. Right. Like, and by the time I got out, they're like in their early teens. But I would go to, my son plays football, and so I'd go to the football games. I would go to all the games. I did things I probably didn't do much. Like, because I was too involved. It was mainly, it was good. And now they're great with kids and all that. So family-wise, it all worked out great. So.
And how was it when you first got out of prison, as far as like going around in LA, people knowing who you were? Was the reaction good? Like, people supported you?
No, I'll tell you what, when I first got out of the prison, the very first call I got was from Tim Lewicki, who said, I want you to come see the new Staples Center we're building or built. I said, okay. So he went down there, he showed me all over the place. He said, let me tell you something. And I talked to Philly Actually, who owned the team at the time, still does. And he said, you built this.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have this without you.
Yeah.
And therefore, I want you to know that you have anything you want ever at the Staples Center.
Wow.
And so since Tim was gone and then Lewicki took over, I went to later on to Seattle and so on. But and Luke has been great. I park with the Players Park under the building.
Oh.
I have any tickets I ever want. So they've been great.
How about the rest of the league, like Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, the other owners? Have they been there for you as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, I hired Bettman.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
I personally hired him because what happened was when I was chairman of the league, it's funny because here I am, the youngest owner at that time, and they decided that they wanted to modernize things. And because at that time, it was getting stale. So they saw that what I did with Gretzky, maybe that would help. So they made me chairman of the league. So as chairman of the league, one of my first jobs was to get a commissioner and replace Ziegler, who was also an old-time guy. So they put together a search team and hired a search firm, and we got a lot of applicants, some really qualified people, like the guy that would run Nabisco or something, What do I do? I go to David Stern at that time, the commissioner of the NBA. I said, David, whatever you're making him a doublet, I want you to be commissioner of the NHL. And he looked at me and says, Jesus, that's a pretty good idea. I said, because you could build this league up. And he said, look, I just can't leave. And you can't take Russ Raddick. He said, but you could talk to Bettman. So, okay. So I go talk to Gary, and I realized real quick, he knew sports, and he knew what the heck he was doing. Marketing at that time, as you probably recall, we're entering a potential strike, work stoppage, all the rest of it. And I said, he's the right guy. So I go back to the other 4 people that were a part of this committee we formed, and I told them, this is the guy. I have Gary meet them. They realize it's the case. Yeah, he's the guy. And so, we brought Gary to the league, and he was unanimously elected as the commissioner at that time.
Well, I didn't know that. Wow.
So Gary, this day, it's kind of funny. He says, I don't understand this. You get all the credit in the world for getting Gretzky and no credit for getting me.
So, I know you're pretty humble, but when you look back at your career, what you did for the National Hockey League, and I do say for the National Hockey League, first of all, to get Wayne in LA and show that it will work in LA and all the southern cities, the Gary Bettman story that I did not know, and the difference it made in the players and their families and everything. You can look back, and as much as going to prison, you weren't happy about that, but man, you can look back with a lot of pride, right? So I did a lot of good things through all that.
Yes. No, to this day, I feel very good about what I did. I mean, and the fact that my crimes didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, right.
They were part of a bank deal that they wanted. So, okay. I mean, so I don't feel bad about anything that way. And I do feel very good about what took place. So, it was great. I think I did my best, put it this way, to make everybody happy.
Well, it made a huge difference in my life, I got to tell you, because, when I got traded out to LA, I love New York. It was great players and everything, but nobody really cared that much about the game, as you said before, out in LA. And then all of a sudden, when the trade happened, August 9th of 1988 it was? 88. Man, I'm sitting there going, I'm going to be playing with Wayne Gretzky. Bruce pulled that off. Like, I'm sitting there at the start of the day going, no, Wayne's never getting traded. And all of a sudden, I'm on his team. And I'll never forget what a difference my life became as a player. The difference you did for me. So I got to thank you. It's going to sound kind of corny. I loved you as an owner. I love you now. I'm very proud of you for what you've done. You should be very proud of yourself too.
Well, thank you very much, son. I appreciate it.
Great to have you on the show. Great stories. We'll have you on again another time with some more stories. Bruce, I'm glad you're doing well. So we will have you on again. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Tom, that was so cool. Like we had Bruce, we had a bunch of kings on the show, and you lived the rock star years, but that was the maestro of it all. And what an amazing story, and what a cool episode.
Yeah, and telling the stories, it really brought back the memories for me playing for Bruce McNall and that team. I went there before Bruce. Well, Bruce owned a small piece of the team, but before Wayne got there. And again, it was great. We had great guys there. We had the purple and gold jerseys. It was a fun place to live. The weather was great and everything. But when Bruce took over and he got Wayne on the team, they said we were the rock star.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, and we joked about it on the show, we're sitting there in New York, August 9th when the trade's happening. And I'm thinking the start of the day when ESPN's announcing it, and they're going, no, that's not happening. This is no way it's happening. And all of a sudden it happened. It really, and we talked about this on the show, just really changed my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a player, as a person. Yeah.
You know, that was a day that changed hockey. I'll always remember it was my sister's Sweet 16 that day, but it was, you could see this man had gone through some adversity. He went to prison, he admitted it, but you could see at the end, especially in that interview, and people will probably hear that it comes through, that you have genuine love for this man.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And it showed through. It's almost like you're playing for the Yankees and Steinbrenner, but without the animosity.
Yeah. Well, and you know, like somebody can say, well, yeah, because you bought you everything, you flew you on private jets.
Yes, that's nice.
Yeah, that's right. The money was great, but it was with Bruce. It wasn't just the money. You know, it was the way he did it. You could tell that, like he wanted to build that real family there. Someplace that the players wanted to be. They worked together to try to win. And we talked about on the show too, where if you ever had a bad game where you feel like you just didn't work hard enough, and then he walks in the locker room after, you're going, oh God, what an idiot I am.
Yeah, I got to play for this guy. But look, he said it himself. He went to every road game.
Yeah,
like he was invested. He loved the team. He loved you guys. He did whatever he could for you. And the story told about Wayne, like wanting to give back $1 million to better the team. That's just awesome stuff, man.
Yeah, he told some stuff in that show that I did not realize. I don't think other people had heard before too. So it was pretty cool.
You know, we break your balls a lot, but I mean, what a great opportunity in your life to be on that team at that time, living that. I mean, that's pretty friggin' awesome.
Yeah, we were. I remember going on the road. I think I probably told the story, but Ray Scampanello, the lines were in Montreal.
You told it. But go ahead.
And it was a Saturday night game, Hockey Night Canada. You know, like everybody wanted to have Wayne Gretzky there, you know, on the Saturday night games and everything. Scampanello's on the ice, and I'm on the bench. He leans over and goes, Tommy, this is unbelievable. Like he was this linesman that's been in the game for probably 20 years, and he was so fired up to be part of what was going on.
It's probably like the first time they played the outdoor games, and I'm sure those refs, Terry Fraser told us, they were like, this is just he said it was the coolest game he'd ever been involved in. So that must be just a really cool moment. You got to live it.
Yeah, and that was, you know, and again, it was just an alumni game we played in, but it was from 45,000 people.
Well, I mean, I don't mean that. I mean the Gretzky.
Oh,
you got to live that era. I mean, you know, for a lunkhead from a dairy farm.
And that's exactly how
Ontario.
you felt. That's exactly how you felt. You know, there's some times out there, the real funny times, like we talked about Timmy Waters and I playing together, and you know, sometimes Wayne would, you know, it'd be a 4-on-4, whatever, and especially when Robbie Vittori coached, he'd put Tim and Tom out there. You know? And Wayne was a great guy, and but he wanted somebody more offensive out there, like Steve Duchesne or something. So he would look at us a couple times, and Tim and I would laugh, and Wayne was good about it, but he'd get frustrated, he'd go, like roll his eyes.
Jesus, look who's out here with me. These guys again.
But you know what? He would do stuff like that, but you knew he was such a good guy. He would either come to you after and say, listen, you guys know what's going on. Yeah, we know Wayne. You want Steve Duchesne out there. I don't blame you a bit.
No, it's awesome. And Bruce McNall, you know, he's the architect of all that and the Southern expansion, him and Wayne and Gary Bettman, which we learned today.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know all that stuff too. Yeah, you know, it is interesting when you look at the footprint that he's made on the game. Bringing Wayne to LA, would the expansion still have happened? Yeah, it probably would have, but it happened much more quickly once they saw that hockey does work anywhere. As long as you got the right
absolutely. And you know, we talk a lot about mental health on here and about being there for your friends and your people. And you know, he said Goldie Hawn visited him, and Kurt Russell and Gretzky and Rob Blake, but even said something simple as you said. You called him when he got out of prison. You sent him Christmas cards, and that resonated with him as a human being. And that's looking after each other. You know, that's awesome.
I had kind of forgot about the Christmas cards. Yeah, because I remember at first when he got out, he said, you know, I was in the agent business at that time, I believe. Yeah, I was. And I don't know if you knew that I was in the
we've heard all of this.
So I thought to myself, at first I got to be careful here. Do I want to be associated with him? And I thought to myself after, you know what? He was fantastic to me. You know what? If it hurts me in some other way, that I don't think it will, first of all, and it didn't. But that's too bad. He was fantastic.
Hopefully you wrote something nice and then just stamp it with your rubber stamp signature thing that you have.
It's probably a text saying Happy or Merry Christmas. That's all.
Text in it was 2000, right?
Yeah, we keep in touch. I've actually reached out to him too. You know, I've got that other business where we put deals together. And he's tied in. He was pretty big in the movie business there.
Yeah, he produced Weekend at Bernie's.
That's right.
Other things.
That's right. Yes. Great man. Oh,
yeah, great episode. People are gonna love that one.
That was really good. All right, Grasshoppers. Thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time.